Hello everyone! If you're brand new, welcome! If you're not brand new, welcome back to the channel. You got JC here, and this is 2.5 Gamers UK, and after taking a severely long time to do it, I have finally completed Watch Dogs Legion, the Xbox version to be specific. I've already platinumed the game on PlayStation, so I decided to go for all the achievements on Xbox. I'm sure if you aren't new to the channel, you've seen the playthrough slowly rolling out onto the YouTube. At the time of me recording this, I am still in the process of doing that, but I really underestimated how long this game would take me to do and how many parts it would take me to do it in. But hey ho, it is what it is. We've finally completed the game, and because we've now completed the game, I wanted to do a review because after doing all of that and spending all of that time on the game, I have a lot of thoughts about Watch Dogs Legion. Now, I'm not going to be too negative, I'm not going to be harsh. I do like the game, there is a lot that the game does well, but there's also a lot that the game doesn't do very well that I didn't remember before coming into this playthrough, and now as the playthrough is, well, basically complete, I now do remember, and I'm like, God, actually, yeah, I forgot about that, and that's not really that as good as I remember. Another fun thing that I decided to do with this playthrough is I decided to do the game in Resistance mode, which is by far, well, it should be the hardest mode in the game. It actually wasn't. It just ended up making the game a little bit more tedious. There was a bit of challenge, but again, I digress. Welcome to today's video. I hope you guys can get nice and comfy, grab a snack or a drink, and watch as I, with no script, because I never script my reviews, sit here and explain to you my feelings and the entire process and my opinions of what it was like to complete Watch Dogs Legion. And by the end of it, if you guys want to play it, would I recommend it to you? Well, we're going to answer all that and I'll elaborate as we go on. So, let's get into it. Right, so, Watch Dogs Legion, the third in the Watch Dogs franchise and the Ubisoft series. To be honest, I really like all the Watch Dogs games. I have to start by saying that. I mean, I own nearly all of the statues for the games. Not only just because they're nice statues, but I do actually like this franchise. The way I first got into the franchise was via Watch Dogs 2. I saw videos of Watch Dogs 1 and avoided it because obviously, like everybody else, when the demo looked better than the actual game, I thought, I don't really know if I want to play that. But then, eventually, Watch Dogs 2 came around and absolutely course-corrected the series, because the other problem that the first game had was it was too dark and gritty. So the second game was like, nah, we're going to swing in the opposite direction. We're going to go light, we're going to go funny, we're going to introduce some interesting mechanics, which a lot do come back in this game, but a lot of them also don't. And I'll elaborate more on that in a second. Going forward, Watch Dogs 2 set a formula, and Watch Dogs Legion basically come along and said, okay, we're going to stick with this formula, but we're going to change the map, and we're going to introduce some other mechanics that are going to maybe spice things up a little bit. The major mechanic is part of the reason why the game isn't called Watch Dogs 3, and why they went with Watch Dogs Legion instead, and that's the big mechanic of there is no main character. Everyone can be the main character. And again, that is a good and a bad thing. It's not the first time Ubisoft have done this mechanic. There was actually a game, ZombiU, but now you can get it on everything else. It's just called Zombie, where Ubisoft first, and actually, funnily enough, that game is also set in London, done this idea of there's no main protagonist, you just play as a random person with random gear, and off you go, and you just do your thing. Watch Dogs Legion kind of uses that, but it's not completely random. Obviously, at first you get your pick of your series of characters. Now, originally when the game first came out, it was only 1, but since then they've updated it and now it's 3, which I actually quite like, because I do think, especially if you're playing in Resistance mode, 1 character, just to start off with, if you lose that character, you could actually be cooked right at the start of your playthrough, so obviously, yeah, I think I appreciate and can understand why they've now changed that to 3. But yeah, so you start off by picking from a list of characters, you pick 3, and then there you go, there's your team. There's DedSec, which DedSec are the main team. I'll talk more about them as we talk about the story. But first I want to explain how this mechanic works. So once you pick your 3 characters, which every character has an ability, well, 2 abilities, sometimes it depends, several abilities, or sometimes they could just have 1. And some characters will even have weapons, which by the way is the only way you can really get weapons in the game. But more on that in a second. And once you're unleashed into the world, once you're set free into London, any NPC, which I don't even feel like I can call them NPCs, because NPC is non-playable characters, but again, everyone pretty much is playable. You will walk past someone, and using your character's phone, you can scan that person. And as you scan that person, it tells you their name, which is randomly generated. You get to see them, what they look like, which is also randomly generated. And it will give you statistics on, do they like DedSec? Do they hate DedSec? And again, what can they do? Some of these abilities can be really fun, like being able to, you know, dodge roll, or being able to take less damage if they've had a pint, being able to neck a pint. A lot of the time, if the character can take less damage because they drink, then they normally come with an ability where you can just swig a beer while you're, like, doing a mission. Being able to call other characters over, so, like, rally troops together and go off into fight. And again, this is the only other way as well where you can really get characters with guns, because in the game, you can't buy guns. You can buy weapons per se, but they're not really proper guns. You get like electric non-lethal weapons, whereas if you want a proper gun, like if you want to play this game like GTA, you need to find a character with a gun. But like I say, I'll elaborate more on that in a second. Each character is good at different types of things. Like obviously there are different classes of character, and as you unlock London, which again ties into the main story, you're slowly trying to liberate London, you then get more types of character. So you'll get hitmen, you'll get spies, you'll get drone experts, you'll get hacking experts, and they're all great at different things. But the whole premise of the game, the reason why it's Watch Dogs Legion, is again this idea of you can play as literally anyone. So anyone you see, you can play as. There are a few characters that you can't, like villains and stuff, but that's par for the course. And also Stormzy, which yes, Stormzy's in the game, but you can't play as him, which was really disappointing, by the way. I really would have liked it if you could have played as him, but you can't play as him, which was quite gutting. Seeing as how he helped do all the promo for the game, and he is a massive part of London culture, it would have been cool. I'm sure the actual Stormzy wouldn't have minded either. I mean, he shot his promo video for one of his music videos in the game. It would have been interesting if we could have played as him, but unfortunately you can't. But yeah, the whole premise of the game is you are building a team from the ground up, and this team can literally have anyone. So effectively, almost like Pokemon, you're running around just collecting people. Like you are going around and you're looking at people and you're saying, okay, what can you bring to the table? Oh, you're a hitman, so you come with a Desert Eagle and an assault rifle. Well, I need an assault rifle. I'll recruit you. But you don't just get people for free. Unlike your first three characters, you can't just randomly get people for free. Well, you do when you liberate certain areas of London, but a lot of the time, if you want a character to join you, you have to do a mission for them, and you have to sort of get them to join the cause, and that ties into the story. So, I guess now will be the part where I elaborate on the story. I'll issue a spoiler warning. This game's 6 years old now. If you haven't played it, I don't know what you've been doing. Probably been playing better games. Not that the game's not a good game, but you've probably played something else. But give the game a shot, and if you do want to give the game a shot and don't want the story spoiled, then I guess skip ahead to when I talk about more about the gameplay and other things like that. But now I'll break down the story. So, the story takes place in a futuristic version of London, which, to be fair, with a lot of the themes this game touches for a game that came out 6 years ago, is scarily similar to a lot of the things going on right now. I don't want to get too political with it. I did certainly a lot when we were streaming, because a lot of the subject matter Ubisoft touched in this game kind of feels like they were setting up for the future. But anyway, that's beside the point. We don't know what year the game takes place in, but it's set in a future version of London. And what happens is that there is a main villain called Zero Day, who's like some big pro hacker, and they set off a bomb in Parliament, and DedSec being the good guys, because at the end of Watch Dogs 2, spoilers for that game, but that game's now 10 years old, Jesus Christ, play it. At the end of Watch Dogs 2, DedSec become a global hacker gang. Kind of like Anonymous, or, I don't know, you'll have to let me know some big hacker gangs down in the comments, because I don't know any of them, I'm not part of any of them. But DedSec go global, so now you have a faction of DedSec in London, led by a girl called Sabine. We'll get more into her in a second. Zero Day places a bomb in Parliament and sets it off, and then blames DedSec for it. So now, because this bomb has gone off, London has now basically almost been like quarantined. Not quarantined, but basically London's gone under like severe martial law, and the police have basically been moved to one side, and now a private police company led by a dickhead called Nigel Cass comes in, and this is Albion, and Albion are the main police force in the game. Now, even though they're the main police force, once again, tying back into what I said earlier, you can play as anyone, so you can even recruit a police officer from Albion to your cause. The only thing is that they don't like your team because they consider your team a group of terrorists. And obviously, we know that DedSec's innocent, but London doesn't know that DedSec's innocent. So the whole point of the game is to, again, recruit characters, rally them to your cause, and slowly go around London and do missions to basically find out who Zero Day is, which who it actually is did surprise me, but was a bit disappointing. And basically, yeah, clear your name. And also just have more people as part of your team. At the end of the day, it never hurt to have more members in the gang. And to be honest, there are worse gangs in the game, because in the game you have the likes of Clan Kelly, led by Mary Kelly, who is an absolute psychopath who traffics humans and sells their organs on the black market. She's one of the antagonists you eventually wind up taking down in hopes of finding out who Zero Day is, but she's not Zero Day. She's just a lunatic who decides to kidnap people off the streets and sell their organs online. Again, even her gang members you can recruit to your cause, because they all have benefits. Like, for example, you can break into her hideouts if you use one of her characters, like use one of her gang members as a character, and you can go in. It does work sometimes. It doesn't always work too great, but it is a thing that you can do. You then also have other villains in the game as well. One of them that definitely feels like it hits close to home, especially nowadays with this whole AI generation that we're living in, is you have Skye Larson, and she's this villain who basically, she owns a company and she's all about AI. She actually created the AI that your team end up repurposing and using, who's called Bagley. Now, Bagley, for the most part, has the most personality in the game, and I'll talk about personality as well in a second. I keep alluding to stuff in the second, but trust me, I will circle back to it. There are a lot of elements to this game we've got to touch on. But Skye Larson, basically, her whole thing is that she's very obsessed with AI, to the point where she even wants to use AI to stop death. So she ends up basically uploading her family to the cloud, and it's really fucked up. And her mum is her home AI, and you have to liberate her mum, because her mum just wants to die, and she's like not letting her mum die because her mum is her actual home AI. Imagine if Amazon Alexa was literally someone's like parent, and they've like put them in a machine and they can feel and hear and see, but they can't do anything. They have to stay trapped as this thing. Very fucked up, but that's basically what she is, and because of that, that's a no-no, and DedSec aren't going to deal with that. And again, in all hopes of finding out who Zero Day is, you end up crossing paths with her. This is the thing. A lot of the side villains they're kind of just there. Like, Mary Kelly is just there. She is a threat, and one that you are trying to deal with because it does make your team look good, but at the same time, you're really just trying to prove your innocence. And as you're trying to prove your innocence, these people just pop up, and you're like, well, I might as well deal with them and find out if Zero Day is among their ranks. Spoilers, Zero Day isn't, but you end up taking them down anyway. One of the actual villains who I will say does get in your way quite a bit is Nigel Cass. Now, like I said, he's the leader of the police force, Albion, and he gets in your way because he does think you're a terrorist, and he is actively trying to catch DedSec. He doesn't give a shit. He will literally let his police force harass people on the streets just to basically capture you, just to basically capture DedSec. So he doesn't care. And because of that, he even broadcasts propaganda about your team, and that is a direct attack on you guys. The other two villains, again, Skye Larson's just trying to release her dodgy AI and upload herself to the cloud, and Mary Kelly's just trying to sell humans on the black market. They don't outright deliberately attack you, but they're just there so that you can have something else to do, because if the game was just Nigel and Zero Day, it would be a very short game. The things that add to it are, again, the fact that there are multiple villains, and again, the villains, for the most part, are interesting. Again, like I say, they're very just there and in the way. The voice acting for them is really good, but again, I'll touch on voice acting in just a second. But yeah, like, that's basically the story. You go through, you stop Skye Larson, she ends up not being Zero Day, and then you get a choice whether to kill her by deleting her AI or by uploading her to the cloud and letting her live in the cloud, but then she says that she'll go away. But I personally, right, don't believe that that's true. I think if you let her live, she's probably going to come back. And again, it just made sense. In context of the story, I feel like it made sense to just get rid of her. Mary Kelly ends up getting basically killed by the humans she traffics, because you end up saving all of them, and she basically gets killed by all of them because she actually tells your character to kill her. But one thing that's actually quite weird is your character doesn't want to kill her, or your characters don't want to kill her, but then they just sort of leave it so that she can get killed by the people she tormented, which, to be fair, I think kind of does more justice than you pulling the trigger yourself. I feel like if you killed her yourself, it kind of just takes away from the fact. Plus, and then you kind of would look more like a terrorist, because it's like you've just outright murdered someone. Although I know I said that. I also said we killed Skye Larson, but that was, I don't know, I feel like that's different. You know, one was trying to be an AI, and all you had to do was just turn her off. The other one was outright, like, she wanted you to shoot her. And it's like, no, instead of you pulling the trigger, it gave more justice to her victims to just sort of be like, nope, I don't need to kill you, they're going to kill you. So, and then all of her victims who you've liberated come through, and they all love DedSec now, and they're like, yeah, leave her to us, we'll sort her out, and they take care of her. Along the way, you do meet other characters, and they do help you with each of the antagonists. So you do meet like a detective called Caitlin Lau. She helps you with Mary Kelly because she absolutely hates Mary Kelly for her crimes. She's like the Nigel Cass to Clan Kelly. She just doesn't like them, and she wants them gone because human trafficking is wrong, and she ends up liking DedSec because they're not about that, and they end up helping her catch Mary Kelly. And also Mary Kelly tries to goat her into killing her, but also tries to goat her into arresting her because she has connections with the police. So she's kind of like, well, you can arrest me, but I'll just break out, or you can kill me, and that's it. And again, we just go, nope, your people that you kidnapped are going to kill you, we're just going to leave it. You have a guy called Hamish, who used to work for Albion and is basically massive rivals with Nigel Cass because Nigel Cass basically stole all of his ideas. He ends up helping you. And overall, he's quite a fun character. Like, he actually does provide you with quite a bit of intel and quite a bit of banter along the journey, which again ties into what I'll talk about with the voice acting, but we'll get there in a second. And yeah, and then after that you also do get another character who, she's an interesting character, but her side missions really pissed me off, and that's the character of Nort. Now Nort is another hacker, and you end up teaming up with her. At first you kind of suspect that she might be Zero Day, but she proves that she isn't, and she gives you contracts. She's basically just like a contract hacker. Like, all she basically does is she gets intel and she sells it, and she recruits you along to basically help her get intel. Like, she's like, well, I'll work with you guys, but you guys got to do my contract, so if you need to steal files and shit, and then you got to sell them to people, and then she gives you a cut of the money. But later in the game, that's actually how you end up meeting Stormzy, and then she does give you some other bullshit side missions, but again, all of that I will elaborate on because that ties more into gameplay. And yeah, that basically is the main story. Now, the real big spoiler, and the part that I found massively underwhelming, was the final reveal as to who Zero Day was. Now, I know I barely touched on her, but to be honest, I barely touched on this character because the game barely touches on this character, and that is the leader of DedSec London, Sabine. Sabine is a very nothing character. She's the leader of DedSec London, sure, but she's also Zero Day. Like, my very first playthrough, when I first played the game, I was shocked that she was the villain, but at the same time, I just didn't really care. When I say she is very underutilized, I mean she is very underutilized. All she basically amounts to is, well, recruit people, go here, go there, maybe 0 days over here, maybe 0 days over there. She just ends up, she doesn't even give you much exposition, she just ends up telling you where to go, but you were gonna go there anyway. So she just ends up being this nothing character who doesn't really inject much personality in the game. I mean, towards the beginning, there is this whole thing where she's also like, yeah, you know, I want DedSec to have a good name again, and all my old friends are dead, and now I need you guys to form the new DedSec, and I want a new team, and there was definitely potential for them to go into that, and especially to really play up the fact that you think she's your friend, but she's actually the main villain. But even when they revealed she was the villain, I just sat there and I thought, I don't care. Like, she really barely done anything. When she does reveal herself, I didn't even really feel betrayed. I was like, yeah, what did you do? Like, I was shocked. The first time I was like, oh my god, she's the villain. But then I was like, but realistically, what else did she actually do? Like, other than giving you your first 3 characters, other than giving you the base of operations that you operate in, she's just a very nothing character. She mainly just sits there to tell you well done after you've done a mission, and then tell you where your next mission is, and that's it. And then provide you little bits of intel here and there, alongside Bagley, your AI, who again has the most personality in the game, despite him being a fucking AI. But yeah, she was just a very minute character, and it didn't really make me feel anything when she's then outed as the main villain. When she then steps up to the plate and says, oh yeah, I was 0 Day, and I was behind all this, and my goal is actually to destroy London, and London needs to be cleansed. I sat there, again, I was a little bit shocked, but I was like, but who gives a fuck? Like, you literally done nothing the entire game other than just tell me where to go. It doesn't even give the same twist as, like, say, BioShock does, or any other game where you have an ally, and then towards the end of the game, plot twist, they're the main villain. It doesn't give you that energy at all. There was lots of room for it to give you that energy, But they don't use that at all. She is very, very bare bones, by the numbers. She literally just serves to tell you, oh, okay, recruit that guy might be good. You then recruit him. Sweet, nice one. The team's looking real big now. Yay, well done. And then you go and do a mission. Oh, nice job on that hack, by the way. Great. And that's it. And then when she's the villain, you're like, I just don't care. Like, what else could you have possibly done? Like, to be honest, you almost even forget that she's there. So when she is the villain, you're like, well, at least you're going to do something now. Like, where have you been? Like, to Jesus. It was very disappointing. Kind of hurts the story a bit, which, to be fair, I think Legion's story is a bit underwhelming. And this stems from, again, the fact that Sabine is a nothing character. The villains, other than Nigel, don't really get in your way. The side characters are a bit of fun. One of them, like I say, Nort, was a bit annoying. And then the real reason I feel like the story just lacks a lot of personality and a lot of, like, emotional injection is the fact of the game's main mechanic. So like I said earlier, the core mechanic of the game is the whole team aspect, you know. DedSec isn't one character, DedSec's an entire team. And because of that, there is no main character. In the last game, Watch Dogs 2, you were still part of DedSec, but you had a main character being Marcus. In this game, that isn't the case at all. But the problem with everyone being the main character is, yeah, no one is the main character. Like I say, you just mainly operate as a team. Even when you go to recruit other characters, even when you interact with the side characters, Hamish, Nort, Caitlin Lau, all these other characters, they just refer to you as DedSec. They don't even... I know, obviously, they couldn't record dialogue of people saying everyone's individual names because all the individual names are randomly generated, and there are some absolutely outlandish names, by the way. What kind of a fucking name is that? How on earth do you say this dude's name? And how have we seen this, but still no Linda? Right, let's bust out Google Translate, because I have no fucking idea how you say this dude's name. What a conundrum this dude's name is. Like, this name is full-on giving AI. Who the fuck has this name? Actually, no offense to anyone who does have that name in real life, but how the fuck? And let's hear how Google Translate says this name.
Balasundaram Fonseca.
What on earth?
Balasundaram Fonseca.
What a fucking name. Balasundaram Fonseca. Look, this is coming from someone who my full name is Jean-Claude Van Des de Silva, but fuck me, what a name!
Balasundaram Fonseca.
What? Because a lot of them are very weird and definitely computer generated. But because they couldn't record all these different names, they didn't inject any sort of personality into what's happening. Like, nothing ever feels personal. Characters will literally just go, oh, you're DedSec. Maybe you guys can help me, but it's just you there. Like, you're just playing as this single person. And even though, yeah, you are part of a bigger team, I don't know, there could have been a bit more to at least make it like, okay, like, there's a bit of gravity here. I mean, there was kind of one instance of that. There is one mission where you need to sort of seduce a character into giving you info. And basically what that boils down to is whichever gender character you go up to her as initially, she doesn't like that gender. And then when you go up to her with the opposite gender, she ends up getting attracted to you and you end up sort of sleeping with her and she gives you intel. It's really weird. So literally, if you go up to her as a male character first, she'll say that she's, like, not into men and she'll actually want a female character to approach her. And then you sleep with her as a female. Or if you play as a female character first, she'll say she's not into females and that she wants a male character to approach her. It's really weird. But that's the only time the game really makes the game feel personal. Like, the game really makes you feel like, okay, not anyone could just do this one character has to do it. And even then, that still felt quite bare bones. Now, like I say, for me, the whole playing as anyone mechanic is interesting, but it's just very underutilized. And I feel like there could have been a lot more they could have done with it, but they also shot themselves in the foot by doing it. Because like I say, in a game where anyone is the main hero, no one's the main hero. It is literally just, you are just the team, and that's it. You're just the team. You're just DedSec. And because of that, nothing ever feels too close to home. The only real way to spice up the game and make it feel like you have emotional stakes to it is to basically play the game with permadeath on, and that's where I'll touch into why I chose to do resistance mode this time around. Now, you don't need to do resistance mode to have permadeath on. You can just toggle it on and off whenever you want. But one of the benefits of playing resistance mode is the added challenge, because permadeath is automatically on. Another thing is that when you basically lose all your characters, that's it. Game over. You have to start again, like from the beginning. And it does add this level of tension. and this level of fear where basically every team member is like a life, you know? Think of it like playing an old school game, and you have a set number of lives, and the only way to get more lives is you have to get more team members. But even then, as you try and get more team members, you need to do missions, and if those missions get you killed, ultimately you're going nowhere, because if you lose a character trying to get another character, well, either you're not going to get either character, or again, you've just exchanged one for the other. You haven't gained anything, you just end up in the same place. Now, this also prolongs the game, especially for my playthrough, because my playthrough, I didn't want to be too risky. I wanted my team to be nice and big, and even then, with my team a decent size, there were still moments where I was a bit like, oh, I don't know if I have enough characters here. Like, if I lose 2 or 3 in this one mission, I better get 2 or 3 more, maybe even 4 or 5 more. And when you start to do that, you can genuinely, and I mean this very seriously, lose so many hours in the game just recruiting characters. Like, a lot of the time, characters could be as simple as you do one mission for them, they're happy, they're on board, they join the team. If a character doesn't like you, you have to end up doing more stuff just to get them to join, and this ends up sinking in so many hours into the game. And sometimes, now initially in my playthrough, there were times where I was enjoying that, and obviously it did fill out the game time. Towards the end of my playthrough, and if you go back and watch the streams, you'll slowly see me get less enthusiastic about it. It's because it does get to a point where you are seeing the same side missions, and when you do end up doing a mission for a character, say they ask you to do something like, I don't know, someone's extorting them for money, so you need to go somewhere and you need to stop the person from extorting them for money. You then go and do that and you think, oh, well, that's it. That's their only issue. I've sorted it. Now they're going to join the team. Then all of a sudden, they'll come at you with another problem and you just think, I just already helped you with this thing. Why the hell should I help you again with this? No. This is bollocks. Why am I doing several things for you? And yeah, that's the part that ends up making the game feel too bloated and just take too long. Like, I understand, like I say, I understand that not every character can be just one mission. If they don't like DedSec, you've got to really convince them, you know what I mean? Like, you got to sort of immerse yourself in that. If there was really an organisation trying to recruit you and you didn't like them, I'm sure they would try and do as much as they possibly could to try and convince you to join. But like I say, when there are some characters where their mission is something as simple as, oh, my landlord upped my rent, so I need you to take out my landlord. And you do that, and then they're like, oh, actually, while you've done that, I need you to steal a van that's got PC parts in it. You're like, why? Like, this is just meandering now. Like, this is long. You should just be on my team now. This is bullshit. But, yeah. And the annoying thing is that, yeah, in the first few hours of the game, the missions will feel fresh. In the later hours of the game, you will just see so many repeats. You'll go to the same locations, you'll do the same thing, and you'll just be like, oh my god, I've been here 50 times. How many more people have, I don't know, files in the police station, or how many more people need help with the NHS, and now I've got to go to the same hospital and steal an ambulance because this same guy wants supplies from it, and he doesn't even work there, but he just wants them. And yeah, like, you'll see what I mean. Go back and watch my playthrough and you'll really see what I mean. I can only elaborate on it and explain it here, and I'm doing that to the best of my ability, but it really is one of them, you got to see it to believe it. And it does, again, hurt the pace of the game, because if you're spending 3 hours just recruiting so you have enough lives to do the main story, then you lose 3 characters doing the main story, you're then going to then waste another 3 hours recruiting more characters to then do the main story. And then the other issue that Resistance Mode has is that it's very inconsistent, so I wanted an added bit of challenge. So Resistance Mode already puts the game on hard and already adds permadeath. So any characters you lose, they're gone. One thing that really shocked me, and I mean really shocked me, was that there were 2 missions in the game where even in Resistance Mode, the mode switched off. Yeah, I'm not joking. There were 2 pivotal missions. One was a boss fight, the other was an escape mission, where for whatever reason, the mode switched off. I died in the mission, I didn't lose the character, and I was able to do the mission again. Why? This really confused me, because the whole point of me picking this mode was for the added challenge, and the game for the most part committed to that mode. The difficulty was harder, I couldn't take as many bullets, I couldn't be as risky, and again, especially not with characters who, once they're dead, they are dead. If I lose them, they're gone, and I have to go and get another one, right? But then for these 2 missions, especially the boss fight, they turned the mode off. And it actually really shocked me, because one of those, so the boss fight in particular, I'll talk about this one now, the Nigel Cass boss fight. So right before you go to fight him, he is arguably the hardest boss in the game, because you have to basically hack his mech suit thing, whilst also avoiding Albion police shooting you, and he's also trying to shoot you. So when I got up to this mission, I already knew what I was getting into because I've played the game before. Even on a normal playthrough with permadeath off, this can be a really hard mission. So I was actually kind of dreading it on resistance mode, but that was the point of it. That's the added challenge. Like, I knew there was going to be things on resistance mode that I wasn't going to look forward to doing, but if I didn't want to do them, I wouldn't play resistance mode. I wanted that extra level of tension. Then when I got to the mission and it said, you can't leave until this mission is complete, I thought, oh shit, maybe I'm actually locked in now. Maybe every time I die, I'm going to lose that character and I'm going to play this mission until I lose all my characters. But that's not what happened. What ended up happening was that I picked my character, went into the mission, died, and then I just respawned. And what the game actually meant was you genuinely can't leave this mission as this character until the mission is done. And I don't get why it done that. Because that's not resistance mode at that point. That's just me playing the game normally. Yes, the mission's still hard, but if I don't lose the character, it's not resistance mode anymore, and the permadeath basically means nothing. And that really, really shocked me. Now, in terms of completing the game, I'm not going to complain too much. I mean, I know it sounds like I am complaining, because it is a bit weird, because like I said, it's just inconsistent. And it did help me in the long run, because yeah, I was dreading those missions. I was dreading the thought of, oh god, if I'm stuck in this mission and I lose all my characters, I lose all my lives, that's it, game over. And that boss fight, by the way, is very late in the game. Same with the other mission. The escape mission does the exact same thing. You go into a bunker owned by Zero Day, Sabine, and your next mission is you have to escape because a bomb's about to go off, and you've got Albion just flooding the building. And again, that mission, I thought, oh shit, if I'm locked in this mission, if I lose all my characters, that's game over. That added tension is the whole point of resistance mode. Like I said, otherwise, don't bother playing it. Why would you even play it? Unless you want that added challenge. But then for those missions, like I say, those absolutely intense missions, they turn it off. It doesn't make any sense. Could you imagine playing, I don't know, Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, yeah? And you play Mein Leben, which is also a permadeath mode. And then just for one mission, they go, I don't know, every part of the game, permadeath is on, but for this one mission that's really hard, we actually turned it off so you can get past it. Once you are past it, though, permadeath is back on, and then if you do die, you have to go back to the beginning. But just for this one mission, we're just going to turn it off because we feel like it. That doesn't make any sense. It was very jarring, like I say, like I ended up wasting so many hours. Again, watch my streams and you'll see it. But I ended up wasting hours before the mission, preparing, going, right, okay, the Nigel boss is up next. Let me get these characters, let me recruit, let me make... Okay, I've got 30 members on my team, let's make it 36. Okay, sweet, I've got all these extra characters now let's go do this mission. I ended up accidentally picking the shittiest character ever, by the way. His gun was crap, he didn't have a good ability, because I thought, oh, well, if I die using him, I'm just going to die using him so I get a feel for the boss fight. When he then died, and then respawned, I was shocked, because I was like, oh shit. I'm now stuck doing this mission as just him. And I can't leave now unless I do it as just him. Which again, the challenge was still there, but it was just annoying because I went into the mission like that because I thought that resistance mode was still going to be in play and that if he had died I would have switched characters and that, you know, eventually I would have used a character that would have been suited for that mission, but the game doesn't tell you this. At no point does the game ever tell you, oh yeah, by the way, if you're playing resistance mode, it's on, but only for these two missions it's not. It never tells you this. It just tells you when you pick it, yep, permadeath is on, hardest difficulty, enemies are more aggressive, if you die, you're dead, that's it. And you play and you think that's the whole way through, but it's not. And it's just so weird. And I just think, I don't know, could Ubisoft fix that? Could they fix it in a patch? I'm not sure. It just seems very much embedded in the game. I mean, to be fair, resistance mode wasn't even in the game at launch. It was a mode that they added afterwards to, again, spice up the formula. Because you can play on easy, normal, or hard. That's fine. And like I say, you can play with permadeath on anyway. But resistance mode just added that extra level of tension. Certain things in resistance mode are harder to do. For example, the way you upgrade your characters in the game is you grab tech points. And in resistance mode, a lot of the tech points are out in the hub world have traps set on them. This is another thing that could potentially get you killed, because you're going to try and grab these currency for upgrades, and then as soon as you're grabbing them, you're getting a wanted level, and you're getting gunned down by the police, and you don't want to lose characters trying to get these upgrades, but at the same time, you take that risk, not only because you want the achievement for upgrading all your characters to max, but, again, it adds to the levels of, oh my god, I'm in an oppressed version of London, anyone could come after me, I could die at any moment, if I lose a character I need another character. That was the whole point. Like, I honestly feel like if you don't play the game in resistance mode, or at least on hard with permadeath, the game could actually be a little bit boring, because it's not actually that difficult. And to be fair, Even Resistance mode wasn't that difficult, especially when you think about the fact that the 2 hardest missions in the game, the mode was switched off. Why? It doesn't make any sense. Again, I'm not ungrateful for that, but it didn't make any sense. So, very, very weird. And I guess now that's a good segue to talk about, well, the gameplay as a whole, right? So, I know I've touched on it here and there, and again, you have to forgive my rambly nature about these sorts of things. But yeah, like, the gameplay, overall, the gameplay is good fun. The driving's great. The shooting's great. Again, a lot of it feels like Watch Dogs 2, and Watch Dogs 2 is the best sort of way to prepare yourself for what this game is going to feel like mechanically, because Watch Dogs 1 plays similar but very different at the same time. Like, the camera's very up close in Watch Dogs 1, whereas they pulled it back in Watch Dogs 2, same in Legion. And the best way I can describe it is literally, it's GTA 5, but you can hack stuff. So you can go around, you can hack things, there's hacking puzzles, you can hack drones, you can use bots. I'm not going to lie, in Resistance mode, the spider bot is going to end up being your best friend. That thing I must have used so many times in my playthrough because it gives you the option to do things without having to get your hands dirty and potentially get anyone killed. Like, you can deploy it, you can put it in a location, it can hack into certain things, it can hack other people, it can set traps. You get a better version of it in the DLC Bloodline, which we'll also touch on in a little while. But honestly, using drones and stuff is probably the best way of playing, and another thing that makes Resistance mode add that sort of level of thinking about things before you go and do them. Because if you play the game normally, so let's say you take away the permadeath, let's say you take away the hard difficulty, playing the game normally, it does just feel like a knockoff of GTA, but with hacking. And I will admit, for a knockoff of GTA, it doesn't play as good as GTA. Like, it plays good, but it won't play as good as GTA. If you go into the game treating it like a GTA game, you'll find that the shooting's fun, but the characters aren't as bullet spongy, especially in Resistance mode. They're not bullet spongy at all in Resistance mode. And what you'll also find is that you kind of need to use the hacks to get certain things done, and that a lot of the missions do bog down to you're pinned down in a location, you're downloading a file, and then you might shoot the odd person here and there while you wait for the file to download. Again, on a normal playthrough, I can see why that would get really boring, because if there's no stakes, if all you're doing is downloading a file from a van and you're waiting for the download to survive, while you're waiting for it, you're surviving by killing enemies. Again, on lower difficulties, you can play a bit risky, and maybe to some people that's fun, but I can also see that being like quite boring to a lot of people, because at that point, again, there's no stakes. If you die, you'll just reload, and you know where to sort of position yourself to not die the next time. What really adds that level of tension is, like I say, Resistance mode, because the enemies are more aggressive, you don't really feel like you can hide anywhere. A lot of the missions, actually, and again, watch my playthrough, I had to cheese by finding new and creative places to hide. Oh, maybe I can't camp here. Maybe I need a drone. Maybe I should fly above the mission. Maybe I should send my spider bot in to do it. Maybe I should use a news drone, because for some reason they can actually hack things as well, but you can use them. Like, it does add a level of creativity that I feel like does benefit the game as much as it also hinders the game. Like, it's very weird. Like, I feel very mixed with Watch Dogs Legion, because for everything it does get right, it also does get some things wrong. And I don't know, like, again, your experience may vary, but not ending the review just yet, could I recommend Resistance mode to someone playing the game? If you want the game to be a bit more interesting, in my opinion, yes. The only thing that is really dumb is, again, the fact that 2 missions switch it off. That's the only thing. But it does add a level of tension. It does add stakes to the characters. It gives you a bit of emotional investment. Because I'm not going to lie, like I said, there is no emotional investment at all in any of the characters, other than Bagley, the AI. And this is because where the game's main focal point is you can recruit anyone and anyone's playable, all the characters have really bad voice acting. Awful voice acting, because what they did was, they didn't use AI, because this game came out 6 years ago in 2020. So they didn't use AI for the voice acting, but what they did do, to be honest, is probably just as bad, if not worse. They basically just hired a handful of voice actors, and then just using modulation, just pitched up or pitched down their voices. And it ends up leading to some really, really bad, like, really bad voice acting. To where some characters are talking and you just cannot take them seriously. What little moments of banter that they have, you can't take seriously. And also, you have to remember, everyone's randomly generated. The names, their appearance, everything, right? They're all randomly generated. This also leads to the voices being randomly generated. And when you have a guy or a girl speaking and their voice does not match how they look at all, like they literally do not look like how they sound, it ends up being really jarring. And then you end up having to rely on, again, the side characters for any form of emotional investment or any form of just knowing that the game has real people in it, because again, it does lead to everyone not feeling like a real person. And like I say, and I know I've mentioned him several times, but your AI in the game, Bagley, who's basically ChatGPT with an attitude, he ends up being the most personality in the game. He's funny, he tells, like Sabine, but more present, he tells you where to go, he has constant banter, and even you get emotionally invested in him because, once again, spoilers, but at the end of the game, you have to make an emotional choice about him, and then you even get an epilogue that's about his whole origin story. And oh my god, how is it that in the game, with so many humans going up against, again, hackers and terrorists and AI, how is it that the AI character is the most fleshed out, most interesting character in the game? It's so weird, and that's Watch Dogs Legion. It's a really good game. Like, it's a great game. I'm honestly sitting here because, like I said, for everything that it does right, it also does something wrong. But I can't not say it's a good game. It is still a decent experience. Like, I've given my ratings of all the games several times on stream, but I'll do it again for anyone who's watching this review and not watching the streams, but you really should. I rate it higher than the first game, but I still rate it lower than the second game. Like, do I think Watch Dogs Legion is better than Watch Dogs 2? No, not by a wide margin. Watch Dogs 2 is definitely the better game in terms of a lot of things. Main character, gameplay. Because again, Watch Dogs Legion just feels like Watch Dogs 2, but with slightly less in it. The fact that you can't buy weapons, for example, that really annoyed me. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you could buy weapons, it kind of takes an element out of the recruiting mechanic. Because say, for example, if you could literally give anyone an AK-47, then why would you recruit someone who already comes with an AK-47? Not unless you want to save money, but it's not like money's scarce in the game. You can find money anywhere in the game, and you get money for doing missions. And another thing as well, now this one kind of could have been rectified, but I get it and I also don't. So, being able to own cars. Now, in Watch Dogs 2, and even the first game, you could own cars. Again, like GTA, you could buy cars, you could store them, you could give them custom paint jobs, you could just own a bunch of cars. There are really nice cars in this game. Like, you'll end up stealing them in the hub world and driving them around because you need them to get from point A to point B, and especially you'll be using them more than the cargo drones because the cargo drones are too slow. And it really did annoy me because a lot of the time, and I said this on stream, you're driving in some of these nice cars. Like, there's a car that basically looks like a Pagani, and you can drive around in it, but you can't own it. Not unless you recruit a character who, for whatever reason, I don't know, say you find a character who's an influencer, and they own the car, but that could be their only ability. Like, you'll find that character walking around the hub world, and you'll be looking at their stats, and it will say something like, oh yeah, he's an influencer, but I don't know, he farts randomly when he's on missions, and he owns a Pagani. But why are you going to recruit that guy when you've got a hitman who's got a Desert Eagle and an AK-47? Like, it's just, I feel like they could have done more with that, or at the very least, okay, lock guns behind character classes, but at least let us buy cars. At least have an app in the game, or car stores where you can go and you could buy cars, because cars is something that, I don't know, universally, everyone in the team can drive them anyway. There's not even like there's a character who has an ability like they can't drive a car, which, to be honest, that would have been a cool idea. I literally just thought of that. That would have been such a crazy idea. Imagine if there was like an ability where like the character doesn't have a license. That could have made the game harder. And then you go up to a car and they can't drive it. They're like, I don't know how to drive. I don't know how to drive. Because that's realistic. Not everyone can drive, but everyone in Watch Dogs Legion can drive. So again, you could either do it one way or the other way. If you're going to have everyone have the ability to drive, then make cars universal to everyone. Make it so that you can own cars as a team. Give DedSec like a garage where they could store their cars. And again, anyone can just jump in the car and drive it because it's a team thing. Guns, like I say, I understand. Because guns, not everyone can own a gun. The game is set in London where you can't buy guns. Obviously, most games, open world crime games, are set in America where you can buy guns, but the game's set in London, so you can't buy guns. Well, not legally anyway. So yeah, I understand things like that. And it's really weird because other things are universal. Again, like the shock weapons are universal, the spider bot, the invisibility cloak weapon are universal, but you couldn't make cars universal. That's the thing that really let the game down. And that's one of the aspects, like I say, that's in the second game that they removed in this game that I found made it very disappointing. Is that, like, yeah, in the second game, again, you had a main character, and he could own as many cars as he wanted, he was part of a team, he could do all this cool stuff, he could even buy as many guns as he wanted. Again, I don't mind the gun thing, But with the car thing, it's like, yeah, I don't see why that was a feature they removed from the second game. Another feature they removed from the second game that was actually quite disappointing. In the second game, you had a music player. Now, obviously, there is music in the game. Like, obviously, you have your in-game soundtrack. And you also have music on the radio stations in the car. So you can listen to music in the car. I didn't play any of it for the sake of stream because of copyright, but there is music in the game. One thing that is actually a bit of a letdown, actually, I will touch on this real quick. They could have added a streamer mode or some kind of content mode. Now, loads of new games have started doing this. If you're playing an open world crime game that has a radio, they'll add like a streamer mode or a content creator mode, which plays non-copyrighted songs when you turn it on, for the sake of people like us. I understand at the end of the day, the game's the game, and Ubisoft probably at the time didn't really care. They probably thought, oh, well, yeah, you know, like, if people are going to stream it, if people are going to play it on YouTube, it doesn't matter, they can just turn the music off. At the same time, though, now, with streaming and let's playing and doing playthroughs becoming a more common thing, like, you've got to understand, social media's here to stay, and gaming is a massive part of social media. And again, other games have done it, but some kind of streamer or content creator mode for the radio, so that I could at least have listened to some songs whilst driving the car, because ultimately I didn't get to listen to any music during this playthrough because I had to turn it off for the sake of stream. But going back to what I said, the second game had a music player, so not only could you listen to music in your car in Watch Dogs 2, you could also listen to music just out and about in the hub world anyway, because your character has a phone, he has earphones, and he can listen to music. It's actually mad because the game came out in 2020, it's set in the future, so obviously AirPods must be a thing. Why did they remove the music feature? Why did they get rid of that? Like, that was such a good feature in Watch Dogs 2, and I just feel like it would have definitely helped. Again, not for my stream specifically, but even with my other playthroughs, or even if I decide to play the game again in the future, because probably I will play it again. Like I said, I do enjoy the game, but it is annoying if I am playing the game, and when I'm in the car, okay, I get to listen to a couple songs, but a lot of the time you're going to be spending time out of the car, you're going to be doing the missions, you're going to be hacking things, you're going to be breaking into buildings, and it would have been nice to have kept that feature, because if it was in the second game, why not bring it back for the third game? Like, it doesn't... I don't get why they got rid of that. If it wasn't in the second game, fair enough, because then I'd have nothing to compare it to. But you have to understand that the second game does exist, and it has that feature. So I am going to compare it to that feature. That I can't help it. It's just, it is what it is. So yeah, it was very weird that that feature got removed, in my opinion. And I would have liked for that to have been added in. That's something I feel like they could have added in a patch, to be honest. I don't see that being too game-breaking. Again, they added a whole different mode. They added DLC in patches. I feel like a music player could have been added in a patch. So, yeah, who knows? I mean, will they do it now? No, the game's 6 years old. Maybe if we get a remaster or a remake, years down the line, they could do that, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, and again, the gameplay's good fun. I will admit, again, not as fun as the second game, but still better than the first. Like, again, if you enjoy open world crime sim games, you're going to enjoy this game. It's weird. I call it an open world crime sim, but the whole point is for you to do stuff that basically is to free your name. So is it really that you're committing a crime? I'm not too sure, because you are basically the good guy. There are worse guys, but you are still the good guy, even though you're a hacker group, which can also be considered the bad guys. It really depends on how you want to play. I guess a benefit could have been really, and again, this is just another idea that I'm thinking of here, if they added a karma system. Because, I mean, if DedSec are the ones being framed as being terrorists, and you're trying to liberate your name, what if you could create a team where you weren't trying to liberate your name? What if you were like, actually, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to recruit the baddest people on the planet, and I'm actually just going to go around and fuck shit up? The game has abilities where you can choose things. Like I said, there were choices in the game where you could have chose to kill people, when you could have chose to spare people. And I feel like if you're going to do that, maybe add another system, like, yeah, a karma system. So if the idea is you can play as anyone, well, not everyone's good, right? So maybe you could recruit bad people, but if you recruit the bad people, they're going to do bad things. Maybe if you do decide to recruit people with actual guns and kill people, you should get punished for that, because it's like, okay, well, DedSec proved they're not the terrorists, but they still murdered people. Like, that's wrong. But again, missed opportunities. Could Ubisoft address it in a sequel? I mean, I doubt we're going to get a sequel at this point. I don't know if they're ever going to touch Watch Dogs again. But potentially, and again, massive missed opportunity for this game. And if me, a 27-year-old person playing this game, can sit here in his bedroom and think of these ideas, I don't get how people who get paid way more money than me couldn't thought of these ideas. And maybe they will in the future, I don't know. But it's something to at least think about while you're playing the game. I know I certainly did, and I definitely have now just thought about it whilst recording this review. But maybe when you play the game, you'll think of the same thing. Let me know down in the comments below, actually, if any of my ideas that I've said actually do sound quite interesting, and if you've actually thought of them yourself if you've played the game, or even if you are playing the game, and now that I've said that, you've gone, actually, do you know what? JC's onto something here. Why the fuck haven't Ubisoft hired this man? What's actually quite crazy is that a lot of the issues that the main game faces do actually kind of get fixed in the DLC. So I played the DLC as well in this playthrough for the sake of going for 100%. Now, on the PlayStation version, you don't need to play the DLC to get 100%. You can platinum the game without touching the DLC. But on Xbox, if you want it to say 100%, you have to do the DLC as well. And the DLC really is Watch Dogs 3. That's the crazy thing. So Watch Dogs Legion, this is what I mean, like Watch Dogs Legion is basically like its own thing. It references the other two games, sure, but the actual main crux of the story, other than DedSec being mentioned by name and it being the team you control because of the events of the second game, nothing really other than that gets mentioned unless you play the DLC. So the DLC is Watch Dogs Legion Bloodlines, and that focuses on the returning main character of Aiden Pierce from the first game, as well as a character who should have been the main character in the second game, Wrench. Now, Wrench is the best friend of Marcus in the second game, and also he's the one with the really cool mask. But you must recognise this character design somewhere, because he just looks so cool, and he's appeared in so many different things design-wise, and even people wear masks like it now when you go to Comic-Con. You've seen this character one way or another. But yeah, everything that's kind of wrong with the main game gets fixed in Bloodline. Now, the story's more interesting. Why? Because there's two main characters, and they're actually characters. Like, Wrench is still Wrench from the second game. He's quirky, he's funny, he doesn't give a fuck, he annoys everyone, he has his very weird humour, he's obsessed with robots. Aiden is the same dark, gruff, miserable guy he was in the first game. He's even more miserable now because he's old. And they actually have a really good buddy cop dynamic because, again, Aiden's the moody one and Wrench is the fun one. So when they both clash, even though they want the same thing, when they both clash, it ends up making the story funny. And it actually gives it a story. Because even though the main game has a story, it also felt like it didn't have a story because there was no personality. This now adds personality. So it really wouldn't surprise me if people buy Legion just to play Bloodline, because if you really do want a Watch Dogs 3 experience, especially in terms of story, you play Bloodline. So what is the main story of Watch Dogs Legion Bloodline? I'll summarise it very quickly because I know I'm holding up a lot of your guys' time with this review. There's just a lot to talk about and I could talk about it for ages. But the main story of Bloodline is basically Aiden gets given a contract to go to London. And he goes to London. This is just so that they could reuse the map again, because they weren't going to design a whole new map for a DLC. And he gets given this contract to go to London, and he basically has to go into Broker Tech and steal something. At the same time, Wrench, returning from Watch Dogs 2, has come from San Francisco, and he's also after the same thing as Aiden. And there's this massive dickhead who owns basically all the tech. I can't even remember his name, because to be honest, as a villain, he was also kind of a nothing character as well. I mean, he was the bad guy, but honestly, he was so forgettable. The main thing that I was focused on was just the fact that Aiden and Wrench both wanted him dead. I really could not remember his name, nor do I really care. And so they come together. Jackson is also returning from the first game. He's Aiden's nephew, and he hates Aiden because of the events of the first game. It really doesn't help that I didn't play the first or second game for the channel, because there's a lot I could reference, but you can't use any of the footage on our channel because it's not there at the time of me recording this, because I didn't play the first and second game on the channel. But yeah, so you got Jackson in the game as well, and he's annoyed at Aiden for the events of the first game, and Aiden's basically trying to do this contract but also reconcile with Jackson, and at the same time Wrench is also trying to do the same thing, and ultimately they all end up clashing because even though they want the same goals, they're all drastically different characters, and they go about things a different way. Like, Aiden's more calm and collected and he's all gruff and seasoned. Wrench is just bombastic and crazy. He wants to go in places, guns blazing. He wants to, you know, shoot people with paintball guns and electric hammers and make loads of noise, whereas Aiden's like, no, we need to be careful and we need to plan things methodically and we need to, you know, like, and that whole dynamic, like I say, what it really is, which you could summarize in one word, it's personality. It's personality. And that's something that is severely lacking in the main game, but it's definitely in Bloodline. And because of that, it also spills into everything else. Again, even their gameplay. So if you get Bloodline, you can actually play as Aiden and Wrench in the main game. But I wouldn't even say playing as them in the main game adds personality to the main game, because a lot of the dialogue that basically would have fallen onto your standard character would just basically fall onto them, and it's just re-recorded with their voice actors, which again, their voice actors are actually good, so maybe for that reason you'll play as them. But also their abilities as well. Their abilities have personality, because Aiden's ability very much is from the first game. He has the ability to shut things down using the shutdown hack on his phone. He also has a really cool mechanic, which is basically like Gears of War, where if you reload your gun and you press the reload button at a certain time, you get double damage and you reload faster. So that is also, again, it's a reference to the first game, adds a bit of personality there, and it's just a really neat mechanic. None of the characters in the main game have that ability, only Aiden has it. If you want that ability in the main game, like I say, you buy Bloodline, beat it, you then get Aiden and a Wrench in the main game, and you can then use them abilities. Yeah, overall, I would honestly say Bloodline is the definitive Watch Dogs 3. To be honest, it kind of feels like Bloodline could have been its own game. It's not very long. It only took me like 2 streams to do, and fully complete as well, by the way. But yeah, like, for what it actually is, like I said, every issue I had with the main game, which, like I say, not even to say that the main game's not good, the main game is good, but every issue I had with the main game does just get fixed in Bloodline. The side missions have personality because the characters have personality. The characters' abilities have personality because the characters have personality. It's like, again, it all just bogs down to personality. The game is more fun if it actually has something behind it that makes you get invested, whereas the thing about the main game is you're not going to be really invested unless you play Resistance mode, because there's nothing to really be invested in. Again, the characters, they're not really characters. They exist for you to play as, and that's it. Even games where you make your own original character, take for example Saints Row. Saints Row, you play as the boss, and the boss is your insert character. But even the boss in Saints Row has more personality than any of the characters in Watch Dogs Legion, other than, like I say, Aiden and Wrench in the DLC. So yeah, if I had to summarise the DLC, it is basically what I said. It's just a really good bit of fun. It doesn't take you too long to do. It is literally Watch Dogs 3, and I know I've made the joke about, well, you could say it's Watch Dogs 3 because it's got the character from 1, it's got a character from 2, and that makes 3. But that's besides the point. It is literally, yeah, it's the best way to, I want to say the best way to experience this game, but at the same time, I don't also want to say that because I don't want people to think I'm saying that the main game sucks by any means, because it really doesn't. The main game is just like, it's a good time, but it's just there. I would honestly say if they opened with Bloodline first and then maybe had the main game be a side mode, that probably would have done them a little bit better. But who am I to say? Like I say, there's people that get paid way more money than me, and they do a good job. And as I say, Watch Dogs Legion is a good time. It's a long time if you want to complete it. That's what I will say. My God, it took me so long to complete this, and I really underestimated how long it would take me to do. I'm also underestimating how long this review is going to take me to do, because I can honestly talk about this game for ages, because there's a lot that I'm touching on, but there's also a lot that I feel like I haven't touched on, and if I've missed some things, you guys are going to have to let me know in the comments. Maybe I'll do a follow-up video. As well, a lot of my thoughts you'll see if you watch the stream, so please, I know I've said it numerous times, and I can't recommend them enough, but please go back and watch the streams, because you'll get my moment-to-moment reactions, and that's just what this whole thing is about. Like, when I do these reviews, it is to summarise everything, but if you really want my in-moment reactions, you've got to watch the playthrough as well. Like, the reviews are like a season finale to a whole show of me playing the game. But yeah, if I was to summarise Watch Dogs Legion, I would say it's a good time. You can make it a more interesting time by playing Resistance mode. The DLC is a lot of fun. There was also another DLC that I didn't really touch on, and I'll quickly touch on that. The Assassin's Creed DLC. There was an Assassin's Creed character in the game, and you get a brief teaser of their DLC in the main story, but I didn't buy their DLC because there wasn't any achievements tied to it, so I didn't feel like it was necessary to play. Other things that weren't necessary to play, there's online. I don't know if anyone 6 years out is playing Watch Dogs Legion online. And then you've also got the Legion of the Dead mode. And I'm not going to lie, I'm going to talk about it for probably as long as the developer spent time working on it, which is a few seconds, which is, it's there. It's basically a mode where you can play zombies and you have to run around London collecting packages, and you can't drive cars. And again, it uses the same mechanic as the main game, where you use a character, you get dropped into a map, there's zombies everywhere, your gear is random, your abilities are random, you grab packages and you take them to a drop-off point, and you extract once you've grabbed enough packages. Again, this mode, honestly, I feel like was the worst mode in the game. It very much just felt phoned in. It felt like Ubisoft going, oh, well, we need to have a zombies mode because it will add something new. GTA has zombies, I think, and Red Dead has Undead Nightmare, but the difference is that those modes, that in fact, Undead Nightmare is a whole long game. Like, yeah, with Legion of the Dead mode, it just felt like it was just put there to give the game something else. And again, same with the online. I I don't know anyone who's playing Watch Dogs Legion online. There's no achievements tied to the online, so it's really unnecessary. The missions you do in online as well don't affect the main story. You get select missions for online that have nothing to do with the main story. They removed a mechanic from the first game where people could randomly hack your game and you had to stop them. Although I don't mind that that was removed because it also was a bit annoying in the first game. I wouldn't want to be playing resistance mode and some random player drops into my game, starts fucking up my shit, and then just dips and I can't. Do you know what I mean? That would have been tedious. So I don't mind that that's gone, but again, it could have added to the online a little bit. Yeah, I would say honestly, you could play the entire game offline, you're not missing anything. Like, you can play the entire game, it's just a single player game and you're not missing anything. If you do want to play online, at least the option's there. You can tell just by how little effort I'm putting in, talking about it in this review, how little effort it is in the actual game. Like, if it was a big deal, I'd be sitting here telling you it's a big deal, you should play it. But because it's not a big deal, I'm sitting here telling you, well, it's not a big deal, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't need to play it to enjoy the game. And like I say, you don't need to do it to complete the game. And that's ultimately what this is. Like, I'm reviewing my experience completing the game and what it would be like for you if you're going to complete the game. So yeah, overall, Watch Dogs Legion is a good time, but it's not a great time. I think you'll enjoy the game, but you won't really come away from it feeling like you've played like the game of the year or the game of the century. You will just come away from it feeling like you played a good game, but there's definitely better. And what's better is actually, funnily enough, the game before. Like I say, is Watch Dogs Legion better than Watch Dogs 2? No. I would actually love to play Watch Dogs 2 again. Maybe I will in the future for a playthrough on the channel. And all I'm going to end up doing in that playthrough is just sitting there going, oh, why is Legion not as good as this? Because really, honestly, yeah, if you want to play the best game in the franchise, it's the second game. But that doesn't mean that this game is bad. It just means that this game's not as good as that one. And it does happen. Sequels can be worse than prequels. I still would rate it higher than the first game. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Watch Dogs Legion. I'm sorry if I chewed your ear off for too long. I'm sorry if this review ends up being as long as my playthrough. Well, actually, that's a joke because my playthrough's like so many hours of me doing it. Obviously, I hope you guys enjoyed the playthrough. For those who are watching this review who have watched the playthrough, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed sitting there, watching me trudge through this journey. The thing is, we started off flying, and then it became a trudge towards the end, because I severely underestimated how much stuff there was to do and how long it was going to take to do. But we did it. It's another game I've completed. Again, that's the thing. If I didn't like the game, I wouldn't have completed it as many times as I did. This is my third time completing the game now. My first time doing it on resistance mode, and I did enjoy it. I feel like you'll enjoy it as well. Whoever you are watching this right now, I do personally feel like if you like open world games, you will enjoy this one. That's going to be it now. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening to me ramble about a 6-year-old open world game that I enjoy. You've now seen me complete it if you've watched the playthrough. You've now got to hear what it's like to complete it. Let me know down below, actually, what you think of the game. If you think Bloodline is basically Watch Dogs 3. If you're going to complete the game. If you've gone back to play the game because of me. That was actually a touching moment that I had a few times on stream, actually. Was there were a few people that jumped on the stream and they were like, I'm actually playing this game again because of you. To all those people that said that, thank you so much. Like, that really does mean a lot to me. And it shows an influence, I guess. Because if I'm playing it and people are like, oh, you know what, I'll pick it back up again, that does put a smile on my face. It's like, yeah, why not? Let's all just give it a go. Maybe we could have played online, but again, the online was unnecessary, so we just didn't. But yeah, thank you all so much for tuning in to the streams, to the reviews. Again, I know my reviews are rambly, but it is what it is. If you enjoy these videos, please reflect that by giving it a big old thumbs up. If you're watching this on your phone, use the brand new hype button. Hype this video up, get it out to as many people as possible. Here's to more playthroughs. Hopefully my next playthrough doesn't take me as long as this one, but at the same time, as I go for completing a lot of games on stream, we're going to probably experience some short games, we're going to experience some long games. Either way, it's all a journey, it's all an experience, and by the end of it, I'll be sitting back in this chair, telling you guys how it is, and telling you guys whether you should do it or not, and you guys can come away with your own judgment as to whether you'll do it or not. So yeah, that's it from me. You've been a wonderful audience. Thank you so much for listening to me for this long. Really appreciate it. You guys don't understand how much we appreciate everything you guys do for us, even just by watching, by liking, by subscribing, which yeah, if you're brand new and want to be a part of this crazy community, please subscribe, and especially subscribe to the YouTube and the Twitch, and have notifications on so that you know when I'm live. And if you want even more help to know when I'm live, go down below. Links in the description to all my socials. Check those out. Follow me, and you'll see loads of clips of my fails during this playthrough and other playthroughs, and you'll be able to know when I'm next live for the next playthrough. But yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much for tuning in. As I always say when closing out these videos, you'll see me, and I'll see you in the next one. So take care.